Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into, well, a really fascinating ancient narrative.
It's one that gives us some profound insights, I think, into human nature consequences.
Yeah, and that whole intricate web of cause and effect, it can be pretty subtle sometimes.
Absolutely.
Our focus today is this really compelling story about a figure named Kapila.
Right. His journey is quite something. From this highly learned monk
To a golden fish. But a golden fish with incredibly foul breath.
Yeah, it's quite the transformation. And it reveals some stark truths, really, about arrogance, about craving.
And ultimately about the path to liberation itself.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission here is to pull out the key nuggets of wisdom from this unique source. Sort of a shortcut, maybe, to understanding some deep philosophical ideas through this, well, very vivid and memorable tale.
Let's dive in. What strikes me right away is the setting. This all happens after the passing of Kapilamaccha, who was a previous Buddha.
So it's grounded in a specific time, a spiritual lineage. It's not just some random fable.
Exactly. That context is important. It underlines the timelessness of the lessons, you know?
And within that context, we meet a family. They're the core figures here.
Right. You've got the two brothers, Sadhana, the elder, and Kapila, the younger.
And their mother, Sadhani, and younger sister, Tapana. They're important too.
They are. And what's really interesting is that all four of them became monastics. They all dedicated their lives to the teaching.
Which brings us to the choices they made within that life.
Yeah. And you need to understand the two main paths available back then. There was Ganthadura, literally the burden of books.
Okay, so focused on study, learning the scriptures.
Precisely. And then there was Vapanadura, the burden of insight.
More about practice, meditation, developing insight directly.
Exactly. Two quite distinct approaches to spiritual growth.
So Sadhana, the elder brother, he took the insight path, the Vipassana.
He did, and he was serious about it. Spent 5 years, really diligent, living with his teachers. Then he went into the forest to practice intensely, and he actually achieved arahantship.
Wow. So the highest level of liberation in this tradition, freedom from all defilements.
Yes, he truly committed to that difficult, transformative path.
Okay, so that's Sadhana. But Kapila, the younger brother, his story goes differently.
Dramatically differently. Being younger, he figured, insight practice could wait. I'll do that later, basically.
So he focused on the other path, the study.
Exactly. He dove into the scriptures, mastered all 3 piyakas, the entire Buddhist canon, became a real intellectual powerhouse.
And that brought him recognition.
Oh, yes. Big following, lots of respect, and significantly, quite a bit of material gain came along with it.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds like success, right? Learning, influence.
It does seem that way initially, but here's the crucial turn. The sources are very clear.
What happened?
All that knowledge, the following, the gain, it became like a poison for him. He got completely intoxicated by his own learning.
Pride.
Immense pride. Convinced of his own superior wisdom, there's a specific term, atipanchatamanitaya. And alongside that, this overwhelming greed for more gain, more offerings, lapatano.
So knowledge without humility, it backfired.
Terribly. It warped his whole perspective and his behavior.
How did that manifest? How did he act towards others, especially the other monks?
It got really destructive. He wasn't just disagreeing with people. He started actively twisting the teaching.
Twisting them.
How so? Calling things that were proper, improper, and things that were clearly improper, he'd say they were proper. Blameworthy actions. Oh, that's blameless. Blameless conduct. No, that's blameworthy.
Whoa. That's deliberately confusing things.
Absolutely. And he was incredibly harsh, insulting towards sincere monks. He'd mock them, saying things like, "You know nothing, you're empty-fisted."
Ouch. That's not just disagreeing, that's attacking the person and undermining the community.
Precisely. It cuts right to the heart of the Sangha, the monastic community.
And his brother, Sadhana, the arahant, he saw this happening. Did he try to step in?
He did. With real compassion, he tried to advise Kapila. He reminded him that right conduct, virtue, is the very lifeblood of the teaching.
Makes sense. The practice isn't just intellectual.
Not at all. But Sadhana warned him again and again, and Kapila just ignored him, completely stubborn.
He wouldn't listen, even to his enlightened brother.
Nope. Finally, Sadhana realized it was hopeless. He basically said, "Look, your actions will define you. You'll be known by your deeds." And then he left.
He just walked away.
He did. And other sincere monks did too. They saw Kapila was just doubling down on this arrogant path. It really shows, doesn't it? You need a receptive mind, even for hard truths.
So Kapila was left with his followers, but the really dedicated monks had gone.
Yes. And then came his sort of ultimate act of defiance, the real point of no return.
What was that?
It happened during the Uposatha ceremony. That's when monks gather to recite the monastic rules, the Patimokkha. It's a core practice.
Right, reaffirming the discipline.
Exactly. But Kapila, he takes the fan, sits on the official Dhamma seat, and then openly declares there is no Dhamma, no Vinaya, no teaching, no discipline.
He said that out loud during the ceremony.
Yes. He asked, what's the point of reciting these rules? A direct public attack on the entire teaching of the previous Buddha, Kassapa Bhagavat, just completely undermining everything.
That's staggering arrogance.
It really is. Profound spiritual sabotage. And here's a poignant detail. The sources say his brother Sadhana attained parinibbana, his final passing away, on that very same day.
Wow. The same day, Kapila essentially tried to destroy the teaching, the contrast.
It's incredibly stark.
So what happened to Kapila after all this, at the end of his life?
Consequences were dire. Just as Sadhana warned, he was reborn in Avicii.
Avicii, that's the lowest, the worst of the hell realms, isn't it?
It is. The most intense suffering, but it didn't stop there.
Oh, his family.
His mother, Sadhani, and his sister, Kapana, remember, they became nuns too. Well, they had followed Kapila's lead. They apparently also got caught up in abusing other monks, following his bad example.
Oh no. So they
were also reborn in hell. It's a really chilling picture of how negative actions, especially undermining truth and harming the community, have these ripple effects. It wasn't just Kapila who suffered.
That's a heavy consequence. Okay, now, the story introduces this other group, right? To show a contrast.
Exactly. A really powerful contrast. Around the same time, there was this group of 500 robbers.
500. A big gang.
Yeah, living a life of crime, constantly being chased by people they'd robbed.
So the opposite of monks, basically.
Pretty much. And they're fleeing, desperate, and they run into a forest monk.
Seeking refuge, literally this time.
Yes. But they got more than just physical refuge. The monk gave them some unexpected advice.
What did he tell these criminals?
With, profound wisdom, he advised them to take the 5 precepts.
The basic ethical rules.
Yeah.
Not killing, stealing, lying, etc.
Those very ones. He told them simply, there's no better refuge than your own virtue.
And how did they react? These hardened robbers.
Amazingly, they agreed. They took the precepts right then and there, and they made a serious vow not to break them, even to save their own lives, and also to give up ill will.
Wow, that's a complete turnaround. From robbery to vowing nonviolence, even under threat of death.
A huge transformation. And the impact was immediate, karmically speaking.
What happened?
Well, their pursuers did catch up with them shortly after, and they were killed.
Oh, so the precepts didn't save their physical lives in that moment?
No, but because they held firm to their vows, because of that sincere commitment to virtue right at the end.
They had a good rebirth.
A very good one. They were all reborn in the Deva world, a heavenly realm. And their chief, the leader of the gang, he became a chief deity there.
Incredible. It just shows the power of intention and virtue, even at the last minute.
Absolutely. Genuine repentance and ethical commitment have immense power.
And the journey didn't end there, did it?
No. The karma continued to unfold. They spent a whole Buddha interval. That's an unimaginably long time in that Deva world. Okay.
Then, much later, in the time of our current Buddha, Gautama Buddha, they were all reborn again.
Together?
All together. All 500 born on the same day as sons in fishermen families in a place called Savatthi. They grew up as childhood best friends.
And the chief robber, the one who became a chief deity.
He was reborn as the son of the head fisherman, still in that leadership role, you could say.
That's amazing. How wholesome actions just keep bearing fruit lifetime after lifetime, keeping them connected.
It's a perfect illustration of that principle. Good karma leading to good circumstances, good connections.
Which, believe it or not, brings us back full circle to Kapila.
Right. After his own incredibly long time suffering in Avicii hell.
He eventually gets reborn.
He does. Due to some tiny residue of past good karma, probably from his time studying as a monk, he gets reborn. But not in a happy place.
Where?
As a fish in the Asravati River. But a very strange fish.
Strange how?
It was huge, and it had this brilliant golden color.
The foul breath. Exactly. An incredibly overpoweringly foul-smelling mouth. A bizarre combination.
And then the paths cross again.
Fate is strange, isn't it? Who catches this extraordinary fish?
Let me guess. The 500 fishermen friends.
The very same ones, the former robbers, they pull in this huge, golden, stinking fish.
What did they think?
Well, the villagers were thrilled. A golden fish, the king will give us a fortune. So the friends took it straight to the king.
And the king.
He was amazed by the color, of course, but he also sensed something was off. He thought, this isn't normal. Only the teacher, the Buddha, can explain this.
So he took it to Jetavana, where the Buddha was staying.
That's right. He carried the fish to the Buddha himself.
And I imagine the smell became rather obvious then.
Oh, completely unavoidable. As soon as the fish opened its mouth, the whole of Jetavana Monastery was just filled with this intense, foul stench.
Yikes. So the king asks the obvious question.
Yes, he asks the Buddha, Abante, why is this fish golden, and why on earth does its mouth smell so revoltingly bad?
And the Buddha reveals everything.
With perfect clarity, he explains, this fish is the former monk, Kapila.
Wow. Imagine hearing that.
And he recounts Kapila's whole story, the vast learning, the terrible arrogance, the greed, the constant insults he hurled at other monks.
And how he undermined the teachings of Kassapa Buddha.
Exactly. The Buddha laid out the whole chain of cause and effect right there.
So let's connect the dots. The rebirth in hell was for the bad actions.
Yes. The negative karma, the abuse, undermining the Dhamma.
What the golden color? Where did that come from?
That was the residual effect, the tiny bit of positive karma left over from his monastic life, all those hours spent reciting the Buddha's words, praising the Buddha, even if his heart wasn't pure later on.
Okay, so some echo of the good he did do.
A faint echo, but the foul-smelling mouth.
Let me guess the direct result of his abusive speech.
Precisely. The insults, the mockery, the harsh words towards other monks manifested directly as that unbearable stench. It's such a clear, almost literal karmic result. What you sow, you reap.
And then things get even more intense, don't they?
Hey.
The Buddha speaks to the fish.
He does, directly. He asks, are you Kapila?
And the fish answers.
Astonishingly, yes. It confirms its identity. Yes, Bhante, I am Kapila.
Good grief. What else did they talk about?
It's heartbreaking, really. The Buddha asks, where have you come from? And the fish replies, full of remorse, from Avicii, great hell, Bhante.
Oh, man.
Then the Buddha asks about his family. Your brother, Sadhana. He attained Parinibba, Bhante. And your mother, Satani, your sister, Tapana.
What did he say about them?
They are in hell, Bhante. Still there, after all that time.
Just awful. And the final question.
The Buddha asks, where will you go next, Kapila?
And the fish knew.
He knew. Overcome with this crushing remorse, he replied, to Avicii, great hell, Bhante.
And then?
In that instant, overwhelmed by it all, he struck his head against the side of the boat he was in, died right there.
And was reborn back in Avicii, just as he said.
Just as he said. Back into that suffering. The cycle continued because the root causes weren't addressed.
How did the crowd react? They saw and heard all this.
They were completely stunned, shocked, terrified, but also deeply moved. They saw the reality of karma laid bare in this incredibly dramatic way.
It's a powerful, if terrifying, lesson.
Absolutely. But the Buddha didn't leave them in that state of shock.
No, he used it as a teaching moment, didn't he?
He did. Seeing their state, he delivered a discourse, a teaching on Dhamma, using verses from a text called the Kapila Sutta and the Suttanipata.
Fitting.
Very fitting. What was the core message? What did he focus on?
He focused on craving. Tana, the root of so much suffering. He started with this powerful image.
Which one?
For a person who is heedless, craving grows like a maluva creeper.
A maluva creeper, like a parasitic vine.
Exactly. Heedlessness, lack of mindfulness, just lets craving multiply and grow, strangling us, overwhelming us, just like that creeper chokes the life out of a tree.
That's a vivid analogy. How does this craving affect our lives, our journey?
He used another image for that. He drifts from one life to another like a monkey in the forest desiring fruit.
Ah, the restless monkey mind. Right. Craving keeps us constantly agitated, jumping from one desire to the next, one life to the next, never satisfied, always seeking something else. Just like a monkey swinging endlessly through the trees, always looking for the next piece of fruit. It fuels that restless wandering through samsara, the cycle of rebirth.
So craving grows like a creeper, makes us wander like a monkey. What's the impact on our actual happiness or suffering?
He made that link very clear. Whom this wretched craving attached in the world overcomes, his sorrows increase, like the vira grass after a heavy rain.
Vera grass, is that like a weed?
Yes, a type of grass known for spreading rapidly and uncontrollably, especially after rain. So, craving, described here as wretched and poisonous, directly causes our suffering, our sorrows, to proliferate, to spread wildly, just like those weeds taking over a field.
Okay, so craving leads to more sorrow, but there's hope, right? There's a way out.
Always. The Buddha presented the alternative. But whoever overcomes this wretched craving, difficult to overcome in the world, from him sorrows fall away, like a drop of water from a lotus leaf.
Ah, the lotus leaf analogy. That's beautiful.
Isn't it? It shows the effortless ease with which suffering vanishes once craving is overcome. Sorrows just don't stick like water rolling off that smooth, unwettable lotus leaf. Liberation isn't a struggle then, it's a natural result.
So how do we do that? How do we overcome this difficult craving? What was the instruction?
It was a very direct call to action. He told the whole assembly, "Therefore, I tell you, all assembled here, dig up the root of craving."
Not just trim the leaves, but dig up the root.
Like one desiring Usira roots digs up Varan grass. Usira is a fragrant root, something valuable you dig for. So just like someone uses a big spade to dig out the entire Virana weed, roots and all, to get the valuable Usira, we need to put in that same effort to completely eradicate craving at its source.
No half measures, a determined effort.
Exactly. Complete eradication. And he finished with a warning.
A warning about
Mara, which can mean our own defilements, death itself, or even tempting forces. He said, "Lest Mara break you again and again like a river current breaks a reed."
So stay vigilant, because these forces can shatter our progress if we're not careful, like a strong current snapping a flimsy reed.
Precisely. It's a call for constant mindfulness and resolve on the path.
And what was the effect of this whole experience? The fish, the Buddha's explanation, the discourse on those 500 fishermen, the former robbers.
It was profoundly transformative for them. They were so deeply moved by everything they'd witnessed and heard. They understood the nature of suffering and the path to ending it.
So
They asked the Buddha for ordination. They wanted to become monks and follow the path seriously.
And did they succeed?
Remarkably, yes. They ordained, practiced diligently, and the text says that shortly after, all 500 of them attained arahantship.
Wow. The same liberation as Satana, as the Buddha himself.
Yeah.
From robbers to arahants in one lifetime.
It's an incredible testament to the power of the Dhamma, the power of practice, and the possibility of transformation no matter your past.
So, reflecting on this whole deep dive, we've really gone on quite a journey. Kapila's tragic fall, the robber's amazing rise.
It really throws the principles of karma into sharp relief, doesn't it? The impact of our choices, our attitudes, especially our speech. It's profound and long-lasting.
Yeah, the key lesson seems so clear. That unchecked arrogance, that insidious craving, it can lead to just immense suffering, across lifetimes even.
But, and this is crucial, the flip side is also true. Even from the depths, like those robbers, a real commitment to ethics, to virtue, can totally change your trajectory. It can lead all the way to liberation.
It's a powerful message of both warning and hope, really.
Definitely. Our actions, our intentions, they really do echo through time.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. Thinking about that Maluva creeper analogy the Buddha used.
That image of craving growing unnoticed.
Yeah. Maybe consider how that creeper might be subtly growing in your own life in ways you haven't quite noticed. And following the Buddha's advice.
Digging up the root.
What seemingly small choices, what small acts of digging could you start making today to counter that growth? Something to think about.